Hey guys, okay, I'm so excited. This is going to be my first podcast I ever do. So I've been talking about doing a podcast for like months. Spirit has kind of been guiding me, and on Monday was the 2-year anniversary of my crystal store opening, and I came home after getting some Starbucks, and I started just kind of doing a spirit message video. And as I started going into it, it was supposed to be a few minutes, which we all know I can't really talk for a few minutes because I definitely keep thinking of a lot of things to say. But yeah, as that happened, I got like 40 minutes in probably, and I was like, oh, I should just do this as a podcast and whatever. So this was on August 1st, which was Monday. It is now Friday, so a few days later. I think it's the 7th today, right? Or 6th, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Who cares? And like, I was like, why has this not posted yet? And yesterday, I think, YouTube sent me like a notification or something that said like error uploading video, blah, 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 blah. So I kind of was like, okay, I really want to do a podcast. Like I really have been wanting to do this. Now I feel like a little bit like more energetic to do it. It was like unintentional on Monday. And I was just like, oh, this is, kind of cool. This is what I've been wanting to do. So how perfect is this? And then it fell through and I was like, all right, what is up with this? I'm like, let me try again. Like, part of me was like, go watch the video back and just see if you sounded dumb. And then the other part of me was like, nope, we're not going into fear mode. We're going to fucking post this. So I tried to do it again, and it's still uploading 0%, like over 24 hours later. And I was at the shop today and I was like, you know what? Let me see like why this is not working. And I kind of got the message from Spirit, which is about one, like moving forward and doing it, and two, doing it with intent, like doing it intentionally, because I think I was a little bit afraid, if I'm going to be honest. I was like a little bit afraid. It's a little bit different than I've always done. I kind of do things like where Spirit kind of guides me, or I pull cards a lot of times. And I know a lot of people follow me for that reason, because you're looking for spiritual guidance. This is more so going to be for like helping stuff. It's going to be spiritual stuff too, but it's going to be for like helping people to heal, to understand, to feel connected to other people, that you're not alone as we're going through this. And, that's kind of the intention behind it. And I was like, oh, okay, because basically the fear really was like, if I have to do it intentionally, then I put this pressure on me, and then I'm like scared to do it. So I was like, all right, fuck it, we're going to do it. So I came home and here we are, we're doing it. So, yeah, welcome to my first podcast. I'm going to talk about different things. I don't really know totally what we're going to talk about. I know there was like a few things that kind of popped up today that I really wanted to talk about, but it's mostly going to be like informational, and it's mostly going to be kind of experiences I've had and healing journey and stuff like that, and anything Spirit kind of guides me to do. So it's going to be like that, but how stuff is, and it shifts, and I want it to be kind of a place where it's like inspiration to help you guys with anything, and to also give like information for stuff. So I know like mental health was one of the big ones Spirit was kind of like guiding me to talk about, but I do not feel that way today. And it's not something I'm probably going to touch on today. But the thing I wanted to touch on today is actually about like trauma. And a lot of times I don't think we talk about like, as we're healing stuff, there's like, don't do this, like all over social media. Even if you go to therapy, it's like you talk and you either release stuff, or they'll give you like exercises and things to do, but it's never really like talking about what happens as you're healing. So I've talked a lot about like my own trauma and my own experience, but since it's new, I'm just going to talk a little bit about this, because this is something that actually came up for me today. Okay, so for years, up until probably a few months ago, a few years ago I started healing this, but I probably haven't felt this way up until a few months ago, where I felt really worthy of who I actually am and valued myself for who I am at my core. And a lot of this came from conditioning from my childhood. And this is kind of some of the stuff that came up today I'm going to talk about. So, as a young kid, really didn't get a lot of attention from my father. The time that I did get attention from him, it was, he needed like to vent to me about stuff going on in his relationship, and basically use me like a support or a therapist, or, if he needed to go drive to go pick stuff up, he'd use me like to come with him because he didn't want to be alone. I forgot what I was going to say. The other thing was, so maybe I shouldn't be saying that. But basically, the way as a child I learned what love is, or how to receive attention, especially from a male figure, is by giving to them, is by doing for them. And so we do these things very subconscious and we don't realize it always like at the time. And we find our value from that. So what happens a lot of times is we develop these perceptions or beliefs as children. We don't really understand it. We just know like this is what we want. Like we're, a lot of adults walking around, like a lot of children walking around in adult bodies, really, if you essentially think about it. But a lot of times, like we will develop these things and we have no idea. And then what happens is we'll continually try to heal this, like subconsciously, like we don't even know we're trying to heal this. So I ended up in relationships, romantic relationships with people who were users, who wanted to use me to pay their bills, wanted to use me to whatever it was that they were using me for. None of them in the past that I can think of, honestly, have ever really had my best interests at heart. And I had friendships that really were also the same way not now, but for a really long time, with people who just wanted something from me or to take me for granted. And I think because I was at such at a deeper level, I didn't realize how much I didn't love myself and I didn't have the self-awareness. Now I obviously do. So I was still allowing these people in my life. And I think there was like this resentment built up with them because they weren't reciprocating things, because their intention for being there wasn't pure. Their intention had nothing to do with me. It had to do with them. And a lot of times those type of people will show up for you at certain times because you're not going to want to stick around if they never show up, if they never support you. But just because they're doing it occasionally doesn't actually mean that they really are invested in you or really actually care about who you are or what's going on with you and stuff. So you have to remember, like every time this is reinforced as a child, when you're healing this, now you have to heal all of these times where you did not stand up for yourself. You weren't choosing yourself. And sometimes you're going through this like anger toward yourself, or you're going through this shame toward yourself. You're going through this regret because you're realizing as you're a different person and as you're making different choices, you're also now reflecting on all those choices in the past that you did not do good for yourself. So kind of what came up for me today was I saw something on Instagram and I wanted to buy it for a gift for one of my friends. And the thought pops up and I'm like, I always buy this person's stuff and they never buy me gifts. And I was just like, okay, wait, let me back up, because the intention wasn't because I'm trying to get anything from them, right? And I'm like, I don't even normally care about getting gifts. So I was like, okay, this is not like my norm. Like, let me kind of go into this. And so kind of what happened was I had this fear of buying this person a gift, because then I'm like, are they going to start using me or taking me for granted? And I go, what is this person's intentions? And I'm like, I know this person genuinely loves me and has my back. And I'm like, they don't ask me for things. They don't change who they are just because I buy them things. And they also do buy me things, and they also show up for me in different ways and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, what is this? And it's the fear of being who I am. And I love being a giver. I love buying people gifts. I like when I see something, this is my perspective. When I see something that makes me think of somebody, I want to get it for them. Do I like when people do it for me too? Of course I do. But it's because my way of showing you love is that like, hey, I thought about you and I know this is something you would like, or it's something that made me think of you, something personal or whatever. And I want it to put a smile on your face. Like I want to know that you're loved and cared about. And that's really my intention. And it makes me happy to see you happy, So that's why I was like, where's all this kind of coming from? And the deeper fear is, if I show up the way I like to show up and the way that I want to show up, are people going to take me for granted? Are people going to use me? Are people going to change who they used to be? And I have had friends who weren't, but appeared to be genuine friends. And later to realize once I did something for them, they just want to keep taking. And it was because they put on a front, so they can kind of like worm their way in. Does everybody do it consciously? Probably not. But also, if you really love somebody, you're not going to take them for granted. You're not going to, allow like yourself to really take from them, because you're going to respect them and what they do, and you're going to honor and value what they do. So for me, it was a nice moment of reflection. And this is how I always feel when you have triggers or you have emotions come up. It's not something to run from. It's something to reflect on. And it's opportunity for us to really like look at, why is this triggering me? Why is this invoking these emotions? Why is this bringing stuff up? And for us to really kind of reflect on that and see what is going on within us. And so for me, it was really great, because I'm still going to buy the person the thing. But it kind of showed me how I had this perception of people, like, if I do nice things for you, are you going to turn into one of those people who use me? Are you going to? And I'm like, but I'm a different person right now. And I know this person has good intentions. And not only do I know that this person has good intentions, I'm trusting myself that I'm making the right choice. But what happens is these situations, as you're healing, become uncomfortable. Even something as small as buying a gift for somebody, and it's not even like a lot of money either. It's probably like 30, 40 bucks. I haven't bought it yet. I saved it. But it's because you don't trust in yourself because you didn't do things that were good for you in the past. So as you're a different person now, you're still feeling the past energy. You're still now healing the past energy. You're having to see what you actually did, and you're having to reflect on it. And it's not always the easiest to do that, but it's also because you lost trust in your intuition. You lost trust in yourself because somewhere inside of you, you knew that person was using you, and you were okay with that person using you because it made you feel whatever it made you feel. And I know for me, I had a really deep abandonment wound. So for me, I always felt like if I give and give and give to people, then they'll stick around. They'll love me. They'll love me in the way that my dad loved me, the way people loved me in my past. And obviously, as you grow and heal, you don't want that because you know that's not actually love. And you start loving yourself and you're like, I'm not letting anybody in my life who does not value who I am as a human being and as a person. And then you start kind of, getting rid of relationships, whether it's family, romantic relationships, friendships, like all of it, because you come to a place within yourself where you're like, I love myself and I only deserve the best people. And I only deserve people in my life that have good intentions. But like I said, you're still dealing with that past where you weren't trusting yourself, where you weren't making choices for your highest good. So then when you're healing, you start questioning yourself more. You start having more awareness to this where you're like, well, wait, why am I questioning this? I just want to buy this for this person. And then you start asking yourself, like, do I have false motives? Are my intentions good? And then that brings up other stuff because for me, I used to hate receiving gifts, especially surprise gifts. If it was like a birthday or a holiday, I was like, that's fine because it's, an expected event. But if somebody bought me something unexpected, it always made me very uncomfortable. And Spirit kind of helped me with this, but I had to kind of go through this because I needed to deal with some stuff. And from the past, like I grew up in a very abusive household. My stepmom was very abusive to me. I think sometimes she'd beat the shit out of me so bad, she would feel guilty about it. And she'd go buy me like a Reese's. There was always like a manipulative aspect to getting a gift when I was a kid. There was never pure intention, not like, hey, I love you and I want to get you something. There was never pure intention. So then what happens is you question your own motives and you're like, well, am I being like my parent? Like, am I buying a gift because I'm expecting something because I'm trying to manipulate stuff? And you kind of go through questioning yourself. And what a lot of people do is they get mad at themselves. They're like, no, I'm not that way. No, I'm not that way. And you get mad at yourself or you argue with yourself or you're like, no, I'm not this way. I don't want to face this, and you push it away. What you should do though, what's better for you to do is go into it. So either like video journal, hand journal, talk to like a therapist or somebody who's, a good support that can listen to you. And you kind of go into it and you ask, well, why am I saying this? Why am I feeling this way? And a lot of times it's the fear that you're going to be like somebody else. That's what mine was. My fear is that, oh my God, am I turning out to be her? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. I actually have really good intentions with people. Like, that's just that. I don't even need to explain it further. Like, I have good intentions with people. So it was something for me to also reflect on, that I was worried about that, or the way somebody would receive it, that I'm trying to do that. This goes to something else that kind of came up today, and it's a little bit like this, but a little bit, but not really. So one of the things that has been coming up a lot lately is being authentic and being yourself. And a lot of times we're conditioned to think that there's problems with us. So like me being an assertive person, or me expressing myself and being blunt with people, has been problematic for certain family members, certain exes, certain friends that could not handle what I said, or they tried to repress what I was saying to them because they wanted to try to manipulate and control me. So the more that I keep stepping into my truth and the more that I keep being me, the more I keep getting irritated at people who aren't. And this happened today because, for people who don't know, I have a crystal store. For people who don't know, I do spiritual readings. And I have people who keep coming into my shop asking to do readings for my business. And they're like, are you the one who does readings? And I'm like, yeah. First off, when you walk into my store, I feel your energy anyway. Sometimes before you walk in the store, but I feel your energy anyway. Most of the time I feel people's intentions. So when you're coming into my business, first off, and you're asking me that, 99.9% of the time, I know you're not actual legit. And I had this conversation with somebody earlier, and then I started realizing afterward, I was like, okay, wait, why do these people keep coming in? And I was like, am I just teaching them a lesson? But what popped up today, and what I realized today, which we only learn things in the time we're supposed to learn them, we're not always supposed to know up front, is I'm starting to see how many fake people there are in the spiritual community who are pretending like they have gifts to try to make money and manipulate people. And it's pretty fucking disgusting. And I will give my dad this thing he told me in my 20s. I went through a really traumatic experience, and this was one of the times he was actually really there for me. And I definitely held on to it like, oh, he cares because he was there for me. Just because somebody's there for you once or twice, hi Sagey Poo. Just because somebody's there for you once or twice doesn't make them actually, good for you, especially if they don't keep showing up for you and supporting you the way you deserve. Hi, baby boo. But I said something to him. I was crying to him one time, and I said, I just don't understand how somebody can do this. And he said, because not everybody's like you. You see, and he didn't say it like this, but this is the way I interpret it, is you see people through the lens how you are a lot of times. Not always, but a lot of times you do. And so I've always been like an honest person. I've always been a very transparent, blunt, real person. Anybody who's known me knows that I've always been that way. Maybe kind of didn't say as much before. Now I definitely do, but I didn't say as much before. What are you doing? Should have put her away, and I was like, I have a feeling she's going to come up here. Come here. You want me to throw something for you? My cat likes to play fetch. Totally lost track of what I was saying. Oh, about people. Okay, yeah. People not like being, so I never understood that. I always assumed that other people who are like readers and stuff like that are legit. That they have good intentions, and I've only been realizing the last few months that's actually not true. And I keep having people who keep coming in who are like, yeah, I'm gonna do readings, blah, 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 blah. First off, I can feel your energy, so I know you're not legit. Like, and also, if spirits are really guiding you to do something, they would have definitely not guided you into my store, because they would know damn well that I would be like, why are you coming here and trying to like do something that's not in alignment with me? Like, I'm not looking for anybody else to do readings for my people. Like, why would I do that? You know what I mean? Hold on. I'm going to have to put her away, because, are you going to go away? She's going to distract me. Are you going to be good? Or are you going to be good? Come on. Come sit with moms. Come sit with me. Come here. I know you love attention. Come here. Yeah. I knew that was going to happen. So, trust your intuition. I was like, that's okay. She's really cute, and usually I can find backtrack. So I guess whatever. It is what it is. We have our special guest appearance from Sage. That's my baby cats. She's like 3, but she's like 4 pounds. Anyway, so yeah, I was like, is it just like me teaching these people lessons? But I realized today it's actually because I'm starting to see how not everybody is authentic, how not everybody is real. And I think Spirit kind of has me be who I am, to kind of show them like you're not going to be able to fake it with everybody. Because when you feel my energy is kind of chameleonish, to be honest. And like, when I teach a lot of people through energy, so when I'm very guarded with it, it's to let people know, like, I'm not like playing your game or dealing with your bullshit. And I think it kind of sets the message to people. It's not rude, but it sets the message to people like, maybe you should think before you're doing stuff like this, because some people actually are legit. But I almost wonder if those people, because they're not and they don't feel energy, they don't realize that there actually are true people who are doing it. I don't know. But the whole point with this is about being honest and being real. And I was talking to somebody after this happened, like a little while. Oops, sorry, babies. I talked to somebody after this happened, and she was saying something about people not being honest and like getting irritated. I go, if I'm gonna be real with you, I've been irritated as shit at people with this. And I was questioning myself, and she was doing the same thing. Like, okay, I'm getting triggered. Like, is this like something going on with me? And at the time I was asking Spirit, and I was like, no, it's because the more I come into alignment with who I am, the more people who are being fake, like the energy shifts. And as your energy goes up and people are still sitting here, it's like this disconnect, and it just creates this friction energy. You know, it's almost like something that's like frequencies higher than this. So where you maybe vibrate at a lower level so it didn't interfere as much. So as you vibrate higher, like that's kind of what happens, and it creates this like discomfort in your energy. And one of the things that happened was on my way home, I started thinking about this. It kind of popped up in my head, and I was like, but why do I hate people? Fake, shouldn't say hate, not that I swear. Why do I strongly oppose and dislike people who are fake? Because this has been something that has irritated the shit out of me since I was a kid. Like, people have always followed me. People have literally come into my crystal store, and I'm in a small ass plaza, and they're like, oh, I'm going to open a crystal store in here. I'm going to do readings in here. More than one person. And I was like, well, I know Spirit's not guiding that shit, and Spirit's not going to let that happen because they're not, and it didn't. But I was like, why do people keep trying to do what I'm doing the way I'm doing it? And I've had people who I've been a vegetarian for 16 years. You're like, oh, you're a vegetarian? I'm gonna be a vegetarian. Oh, you're like this? I'm gonna do this. And they've done this to me since I was a kid. I remember being a kid and I would draw something and then people would follow me. And if you guys know me, you know I love people who are original, who are creative, who do things out of the box, who are just different than other people. I love it. I call us rebels. I love rebels. I can't deal with following energy. But I was driving home today and I was like, what is this? Because this has got to be a little bit more than just an energetic difference. This is shit that's bothered me since I was a kid. And I was like, that makes sense. What happened was my stepmom was fake as fuck. If you ever met her, you would be like, oh, she's so sweet. She's so nice. And she would put on this facade, where she'd be around people and you would just think she's the sweetest person in the world. Meanwhile, she'd be going home and literally saying horrific things to me and beating the fuck out of me constantly. And I realized I can't stand people like that. And here's the thing. And I realized this on my way home too. It's not even just about not liking fake people. It's, first off, trying to be a follower is one of the things, but it's people because they are manipulative, and I cannot stand manipulative people. When you are purposely trying to manipulate people to pretend like you're somebody you're not, you right there know that what you're doing is wrong. And that's why it annoys me so bad, because you're trying to pretend like you're somebody that you aren't, and you're trying to make people believe you're somebody. Why would you do that if you thought what you were doing was okay? And there's a difference between people who intentionally manipulate versus subconscious manipulation. I think we have all learned that we'll say certain things when we're triggered to kind of invoke a certain response out of people. But the difference is, once we realize we're doing it, we stop. We take I would like to say most of us take responsibility. I personally like to take responsibility. Does it mean everybody does? No. But when they have the awareness to it and you're a genuine person, you don't keep doing it. You won't keep doing it because you understand what you're doing now and you understand why you're doing it. This is the way it works. Other people, they will keep trying to go into that story and keep trying to manipulate people because they want you to have a certain perception of them. And that's why. So I started realizing, okay, this is why it's bothering me. And it's the same thing with people who are coming into the store. You're trying to pretend like you have gifts. You're trying to pretend like you're helping people, but you're not. You're actually trying to manipulate people to make money. And that shit irritates me too, because when you are truly a light worker, when you are truly here to help people, that is not your first intention. Right now, I'm not doing readings. I'm only doing video readings for people that are I record and I send kind of like this, where I pull cards and stuff. I've had people come in the shop and ask me for readings, and I'm like, I'm not doing them right now. But what do you need to know? I'll help you real quick. And sometimes I'll talk to people for a few minutes. Sometimes I'll talk to people for a few hours. People come in, Spirit gives me messages. I'll give them to you for free, because my first intention for doing this is to help people. Do I want to be paid for my energy and my time and the value you're getting? Absolutely. And there is a whole story behind that, but that's not even relevant because I don't even need to explain myself anymore. But my point is, when you're genuinely trying to help people, your first thought is not money. Your first thought is helping. When you're going and doing stuff like that and you're doing stuff out of alignment to make money, it's never going to work out. It will always fall through. And a lot of times people like that fall hard on their face, and there's a reason for that. So the whole point of me saying that is, do what is in alignment for you. It will always naturally come to you. And this brings up another conversation I had today too, which I just kind of popped in my head, is you don't have to chase anything. All you have to do is change your internal energy and it will magnetically come to you. And people always say this. My shop, my crystal shop I've been there for 2 years, 400 square feet. I have not paid one penny to advertising. I have never paid for advertising at all. I haven't even probably advertised though, in like a year, probably, maybe like 6 months ago or something like that. And I was only doing it through marketplace ads and just posting it on the local listings for free. That's all I was doing. I haven't done anything. Like I have my Facebook and my Instagram page where like when I get new stuff and I'll post that type of stuff, but it's not like on Facebook, you know, marketing, like where I'm paying for ads and things like that. In my area that I'm in, it literally looks like condos. People always ask, is it apartment or condos? They're like, I didn't know you were back there. There's no big sign. I had small signs that keep getting stolen or thrown out or whatever keeps happening to them. And yet people keep finding me. And they're like, I'm surprised you make enough money to like survive, you know, because of how small your store is and where it's located. Because as I keep growing and I do what's in alignment, people naturally magnetically come in. I don't even need to overwork and do stuff. And I don't overwork myself. I used to be a former, you know, workaholic, and I don't. If there are days where I don't want to work, then I don't work. If I energetically feel drained or I need to take a mental health day or an energy day or whatever day I need to take for myself, I take off. And if I don't, I almost always make no money that day anyway. But that's not the reason I do it. I do it because I am my top priority. If I don't have the energy to do certain things that day, I don't do it. If I have a lot of energy to do stuff, then I'll focus on it and do it. And we, as a collective, think we have to overwork and overdo, and we really don't. All we have to do is come from whatever our truth is and come into alignment with ourselves, and we'll naturally do things. And it's the same thing with like your passions and your dreams. If you don't know what you want to do right now, don't go and prematurely do stuff because you see other people doing it and it looks good to them. You see other people making money and it looks good, like, and that's what you want. Look at what you actually desire. Because if you're trying to follow trends and you're trying to follow other people, there's something within you that's not really in alignment. So it's like an opportunity for you to reflect on yourself and say, what's going on within me that I need to kind of look at and assess because I'm trying to do other things. Like, am I trying to get money? So where am I in a lack mentality, or where am I being impatient that I think that my day's not going to come for me, where I'm trying to control, where I'm trying to, you know, what's the word? Chase. You're trying to essentially chase money, right? You're doing stuff that's out of alignment. You're not being guided to, and you're chasing money, which you're never going to catch money when you chase money. You know what I mean? So it's like that type of stuff, or you're trying to gain like popularity. So where in your mind do you think that being popular or having a lot of followers or things like that make you valuable, make you worthy, make you seen a different way? You know, it's like going deep and seeing why we're doing the things we're doing. Everything will naturally flow. And I'm going to tell you guys how I started selling crystals, and I'm going to tell you kind of how all of this happened. So I love business. I started selling stuff when I was 13 on eBay. I fell in love with it. I opened my first business when I was 18. I did all online businesses for years. I went for my psychology degree. I did social work for about 10 years. I had businesses in the meantime doing online stuff. So, hold on one second. I knocked my crystal over. I brought this crystal in. This is carnelian flower agate. These are, I haven't put them for sale yet, but they're so pretty. I had to grab one of them. They're so pretty. They have such good feminine sacral energy. Anyway, so I had been buying crystals, we'll say 10 years, right? When I bought them, I liked them as a kid. My first crystal was a tiger's eye. I bought when I was a kid at the bookstore. There was no crystal stuff around. 10 years ago, crystals were very taboo. We didn't really like talk about it. There also weren't a lot of crystal stores. So mostly you bought stuff online, which a lot of my crystals like over here, not all of them, but a lot of them are from like when I first started collecting and stuff. I'll have to do like a video one day and show you guys some of my really cool pieces. But yeah, I started collecting probably like 10 years ago. I collected because I thought they were pretty. I bought this amethyst piece and then I was just like, ooh, these are pretty. Back then I didn't believe in energy. Back then I've always felt it. I just didn't understand it. So I was just buying them because I thought they were pretty. I would use them intuitively without realizing that's what I was doing. And they would help me with certain things. And that's where I realized, oh, okay, energy, like crystals actually are healing. And I started understanding it. So I had bought this box. One of the people that I bought crystals from online was selling a box of 50 Brazilian amethysts. I had no idea what they looked like. I don't think I have any in here right now that are that size to show you, but they're kind of like whatever. And I was like, they're a good price. And I was like, I know myself, like I know I could sell stuff and like online. And if not, that's okay. I'll keep them because I love, crystals. So I bought them, I labeled them all, stuck them on the table, all this stuff, but I never posted them online. I never did shit with them. They sat there for months. Now I went through my divorce. I packed all my, crystals up. I moved. And one of my old friends had brought up the amethyst. And I go, yeah, you know what? I should bust those out and start selling them. I should start posting them online. I started selling them just through Marketplace. I think it was Marketplace. Yeah, about 3 years ago. Started selling them through Marketplace. Sold a bunch of them the first week. And I was like, ooh, I should start buying more crystals and selling them. So I'd actually set up a little area in my house to let people over and sell them. As I'm selling crystals, people were coming over and I was giving spiritual messages to. This is before I started doing paid readings. I was kind of going in spiritual groups and like whenever spirit would guide me to like ask people questions and ask specific things they wanted me to kind of guide people with doing that. But I wasn't really doing paid readings. It wasn't something I was necessarily thinking about. I wanted to be like a therapist and help people. That was kind of like my whole goal. I have a bachelor in psychology. I was going to go for my master's so I could help people. But obviously we know, things shift and stuff. But I didn't really, if I'm going to be honest, I didn't really actually want to go for my master's at all. I just thought I had to do it, to help people. So anyway, I'm selling crystals out of my house. Spirit's now guiding me to do readings. I was like, oh no, like, no. I was so uncomfortable. They had me start my Gaia Spiritual Healing page, like on Facebook and Instagram about 3 years ago also. Like a few months like after or around the same time, but I didn't post my first video until like a few months after I did crystals 3 years ago. And they wanted me to kind of talk about trauma stuff. They wanted me to talk about healing and stuff like that. I didn't realize it was going to go into doing readings and stuff. And I had 3 different psychics 3 days in a row come buy crystals from me. And they're like, you're supposed to be doing readings. You're supposed to be doing readings. You're supposed to be doing readings. I already knew this. Spirit had already guided me to this and I was resisting. That night, after the third lady had come over, that night, I'm on Facebook or somewhere else, and I see this earth angel thing, and something draws me to it. I open it, and I read it. I'm like, oh, I can feel it. I'm an earth angel. Okay. The fourth lady comes out. She's like, I'm not sure why I want to buy crystals today, but I just felt guided to buy crystals from you. And I was like, yeah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, I can see your aura. It's white. Like, oh, I see this light. Oh, you're an earth angel. And I was like, yeah, I heard you. I was like, yeah, I actually realized that like yesterday. And she's like, yeah, you shouldn't really be doing readings. So I was like, all right, fine. Like I give up. I'm doing it. I was so scared. I had so many fears. I was worried about charging people for money, people saying shit to me, worried that like, am I going to get the right messages or not? Worried about like judgment. I am a shy person. I am an introverted person. I have definitely come out of that a lot, but I still very much am. And especially in social settings, I'm usually fairly quiet unless I'm really super comfortable around you. But I mean, I was so bad, like to do a video, I was like terrified to do a video. And then to actually do a reading too, I was terrified. So when I first started doing the readings, even on my page, I was so scared. Then they wanted me to do lives. They wanted me to do all these things. But my point is it all naturally unflowed. And then what happened was I was selling the crystals. I was still doing readings. I was selling the crystals out of my house. And then I started getting hit with all this spiritual stuff. Excuse me. And I stopped selling them for a few months because it was just like, didn't want to, had no passion to do it, felt just completely unmotivated, going through so much spiritual healing that I was just constantly drained. And then one day it came back. Months and months later, it came back and I was like, oh, I want to sell them. I'm like, yeah, I don't want people in my house. I'm going to go meet them somewhere. Probably like a week or two later, I forgot I even told Spirit I wanted to open a crystal store. They reminded me afterward, but a few weeks later, I'm driving to go get food in Tampa and I get this message from Spirit and they're like, you should open a crystal store. I was like, oh, hell yeah. I go literally look online. The first place I find was this and the one that I'm actually at. And I was like, it's only 400 square feet. Like, no, like I have all these plans. Like I want to do this big spiritual thing and have like spiritual events and healing events. And this really isn't in alignment with that. And my one friend, I call her up and she's like, make sure you start small. And I was like, so I go to sell a crystal to somebody and he literally asked me, he goes, are you opening a crystal store? And I was like, I mean, I'm actually going to look at a place today. He goes, make sure you start small. I was like, all right, guys, I hear you. Spirit knows if they show me stuff in patterns, unless I'm being tested, pay attention. I can usually tell the difference. So it's like, pay attention, right? So I'm like, okay. So I go to the store. I'm like, you know what? It's kind of small. I'm not sure, all of the fears start coming up. And I go leave. One of my girlfriends who is religious and not spiritual, not into any of this stuff like I am, used to actually be terrified of crystals, sends me a text from one of her clients that had happened to open these cards that day, forgot she had them for months, and there were 2 angel cards and they had the same, like similar messages on them. Mind you, she had no idea I was going to look at this store. Sends them to me literally not even a minute after I leave, where I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And it's talking about go forward with it. Don't, give your fears up to the angels. Don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. Gave me a direct message. She had no idea she was even doing it. I love when spirit does it through people who don't even know they're doing it. And then I was like, you know what? I hear you guys, but I'm still scared. You need to give me another sign. So my other friend calls me up and she says something to me. I can't remember exactly what she said. She's like, I don't know, I forgot to tell you something when I talked to you earlier, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, fine, I hear you. And I was like, listen, so I'm afraid. I called the guy, he didn't answer. So she's like, just call him back. Just call him a second time. I was like, fine. So I went and signed the lease that day, which was July 27th, which I forgot about. And Spirit had told me about that day. The beginning of the year was going to be an important day. So that's how I remember that day. So strong too. July 27th. It was so freaking strong for me. And then I'm going to do a video on this and show you guys like what it looked like in my house, what it looked like when I started and what it looks like now, because everything naturally unfolds for you. Like you don't need to force anything. You don't need to push anything. I opened my store in 4 days, and which is not unheard of, but pretty quick to open a store. And on top of that, I was working full time and I was at the end of the month. So I had a lot of home visits and stuff to do. So I was really busy. I barely slept, but I had enough energy to get stuff done. And I was doing what was in alignment. I was so excited about it. And on my first day, just 4 days later, I made more than I had put down for the month, like more than the first month's, rent, like that whole weekend. I did more than that in just the first weekend. And that was not even advertising. That was literally just posting it on the Facebook page that I had from selling out of my house for a year, and just posting on my personal page. And I was like, yay. And it wasn't even about the money. For me, it was like, ooh, this is something I'm excited about. I love helping people. I love doing spiritual stuff. I love helping people. I love doing spiritual stuff. I love crystal stuff. And I love business. So it's like a combination of all of my favorite things to do in one. And that's my thing is it will always naturally be guided to you. If you're trying to chase it, you're trying to force something, it's never going to work out. I promise you, it will never work out. When you're in alignment and it comes to you, it will keep coming to you. You will not be able to escape it, and it will naturally just flow. Everything will flow. And when I look at where I started, hi baby, I love you. When I look at where I started out of my house, lay down. Yeah, let's lay down and talk. Let's hang out. When I started it out of my house, I didn't have a ton of crystals. And then when I started the store, I didn't have a ton. And I've actually added extra tables, extra shelves. I mean, you name it. And it's for me, I like to go big. And the reason why I've been at the store that I've been at for 2 years is because I'm growing and I'm learning. And I'm also seeing some of my own perceptions where I was like, oh, people are just gonna be like, oh, your small little store, people are gonna say shit. And I almost want to say stuff it's not just a small store, I have tons of crystals, but I almost feel like that's me still trying to prove myself, and I'm done trying to prove myself. But I thought to myself the other day, and I was like, the fact that I have a store that has no fucking local drive-by, no paid advertising, I make enough money to survive, it's my only income, and it's 400 square feet, and I have so much stuff, and I've upgraded so much, and I started the website and all this. I'm like, damn, I have bossed the fuck up, and I'm so proud of myself. And I needed to change my perception. I needed to realize as I grow, I'm gonna have other responsibilities. I'm gonna have to hire people and all this stuff. And lately, what's been kind of coming up for me is I keep telling people yeah, I'm gonna open a store, and they're like, when are you gonna do it? I don't know. It's out of my hands right now. And they're like, well, are you looking? I'm like, I don't need to look. I don't need to look. I was at the time when Spirit gave me the message. I don't need to, because as soon as it's ready, Spirit's going to let me know, and they're going to show me what I'm doing. They're going to very directly tell me I don't need to do that. And yes, everybody gets messages like that too. You don't have to channel to get the messages. The thought will pop up. You'll see something, the thought will pop up. You'll go online. You'll see something. You'll feel really excited about it. You'll know holy shit, this is it. And if you don't listen to it, you'll get guided to a crystal store where I'm like, what are you doing? Why aren't you taking that place? I promise you, they do it all the time to people. Actually, I think 5 or 6 people came in today, and they came in to buy crystals. Some of them I'd never met before. And that's exactly what was going on, is they needed me to guide them to do certain things that they weren't doing. It happens all the time. You will never miss an opportunity. Like, they will always keep showing it to you over and over and over, and it will be something you're excited about. And yes, there is fear there. There's always going to be fear there. There's always going to be risk. But if you're doing something that's divinely guided, it's always going to work the way it's supposed to work anyway. You can't prepare for stuff. You can't worry. Like, you can worry about stuff, but you can't change it. So it's like, take that leap of faith and fucking do it. So yay, I'm so excited. Like, I was terrified to do this freaking podcast. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, this is scary as shit. Putting myself out there in a little, like, in a different way. And I'm serious when I tell people, like, the fact that 3 years later I'm even doing this is crazy, because as a kid, I never would raise my hand even when I knew the right answer, because I didn't want to talk in front of the class. We'd have presentations. I would try to never do them. I've actually gotten out of them and pretended like I did a presentation when I didn't actually do it. I still don't leave my name on my voicemail. But when I had my old job and you have to say, hey, this is Brittany from so-and-so and, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I never wanted to do it because I didn't want to hear my own voice. I just felt weird and uncomfortable. And like the fact that in a different place where I keep growing, I used to be scared to grow, I think. And the fact that I keep growing and growing and growing and pushing my comfort zone makes me so freaking proud of myself. But the thing is, start small. It takes one step. It truly takes literally one step forward. And it took me just creating my page. And when I created my my Facebook and my Instagram page, I don't think I posted on it for like 3 or 4 months, to be honest. I don't think I posted on it. I was very scared until like one day Spirit wanted me to record. I'm pretty sure the first recording I did actually on my page, I was out at the trail that I used to go to. Oh, beautiful. I knew it. That I used to go to all the time. And I was talking about kind of my trauma and things I went through. And then I was like, ooh, I don't know if I should post it. And Spirit was like, you know, it's going to help people. And I was like, fine. They know how to get me to do stuff, because I'm like, shit, I'll push myself outside of my comfort zone. Don't do it. I knew you were going to do that. Sage, stop. I'll push myself outside of my comfort zone if I know it's going to help people. That's usually the way they can get me to do stuff, because they know that like I genuinely want to help people. And so, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It's like, just start small. Like, even if it's just something as small as, it's not small, but we call it small because it's not as scary to do something like creating a page. So it's like just one step. And then it was like, ooh, that was scary, but okay, we're okay. We survived. And then it was like, all right, let's do another step. And then I told you, like, they started having me do paid readings, and they had me to start doing lives. And now we're doing fucking podcasts. So it's like, yeah, it's scary, but also it's something you're passionate about. It's something that you love. So it's like, isn't that worth the risk? Because to me, it's always worth the risk. It's a little bit scary when we first start doing stuff, but it's like, I love saying this to people. It's like, because I've had people who tell me I'm fearless. I go, I promise you, I am not fearless at all, like at all. And people who know me know I definitely have a lot of fears, and I get anxiety and I overthink, like I promise you. But I always tell people we're always going to have fears, but behave and live like you don't. And I really stick by that, and I really mean that. And you would not believe how many times I'm giving people a message and I go, fuck, I got to do that myself. And they're like, are you going to do it? I go, yeah, I'll do it right in front of you, because I'm not a fucking hypocrite. I will never be a hypocrite. And I'm always going to do what I advise other people to do. So if that gives you any like inspiration to start something that you're being guided to and to help you know, it's just one small step. And if you're not ready to do the next step, that's okay. Be patient with yourself as you go, and trust that it will naturally open up for you as you want it to. And the same thing with the podcast. I've been talking about this for literally months and months and months, and it just wasn't the right time. Spirit was probably trying to prepare me for it, to get me excited about it, to help me release any like fears that I had with it, which there was definitely a lot. They're not fully released, but to help me kind of work through it, to give me enough strength to actually be able to do it. So yeah, and even like I said, like I went to go do it on the Monday or whatever, and well, unintentionally, and then when it didn't post, then I was like, oh crap. And normally the old Brittany would have been like, oh, I wasn't supposed to do it, maybe I shouldn't, maybe this, but I've been working on not going into fear so much, and working on not going into the negative aspect of things, and saying, okay, you know what, do I want to do this or do I not? And I'm like, I do actually really want to do this. This is something that I'm really excited about. And I'll tell you guys a vision I had a few years ago. I had a vision about 3 years ago, and Spirit showed me on stage talking, and I dead ass serious laughed at them. I go, you guys are funny. And now they showed it to me again more recent and kind of showed me something with that happening. And I was like, we are not there yet, because we're in front of a camera where we don't see anybody. If you want me to do that, like, you guys are going to have to definitely help me get there. And they're like, yeah, but you always preach to people, you know, about facing their fears. I go, touche. Okay, I hear you, but I need you to help me to have enough empowerment and strength to be able to do that, because that is a totally different type of ball game. So this is probably one of the steps to get me to where it is, and they show you things ahead of time to get you excited about them, but also to prepare you. So if you're seeing anything ahead of time, it sometimes is just being patient, because everything, if they're showing you it, they're trying to get you excited about it, and they're trying to show you, by the way, this is your path. The path is always leading to that, but you're being prepared to actually be able to step into that role fully, where you're not going to run away from it or shy away from it. So I really hope this helps. I hope you guys love this. I definitely really enjoyed it, and I was not as nervous when I started as I thought I was. So that's progress. Like, pat myself on the back. Should I buy myself a cookie? Probably. Like a chocolate chip cookie with buttercream frosting. Those from Publix are the freaking shit. I'm not even a big sweets person, but those are the shit. And I like to buy myself stuff when I accomplish things. And I don't mean accomplish things like, oh my God, it's so successful. Accomplish things like step out of my comfort zone and do something that I'm afraid of, that type of stuff. I love to celebrate those type of things, as we all should. And we should be proud of ourselves and our progress. And we should look back on like how far we've grown and how much like things have changed for us because we're making those choices. So I hope you guys love this. I hope it inspires you. If there's anything that you guys want me to talk about in a future podcast, let me know in the comments, or you can always message me on the link in the bio. I have a contact form and stuff in there. You can always message me on there. I'm definitely going to do a lot more stuff about healing. Definitely going to be talking about mental health, trauma, like all kinds of stuff. So I'm really excited. Hope you guys all have an awesome day.